Hello, thanks for purchasing one of our uRepair do-it-yourself kits. We prepared this video to help you go through the process of repairing your iPhone in an easy and safe way. All you have to do is follow the step-by-step instructions. So let's start by showing you how to open your device.
Hey, what's up guys? Today I will be showing you how to work inside of an iPhone 5G. Now, the first thing you need to make sure of is that your workstation is clean and properly organized, and then you have all the tools for this job. Now, here I'm going to be using the tools that come in the kit. I'm going to be using the box for the kit itself, basically to place all my screws to ensure that I don't lose them. And inside of this box, I'm going to be creating groups with the components that I remove and the screws in order to make sure that I don't mix them up. Now, I have the replacement screen here for this device. A vinyl sticker. This vinyl sticker, we're going to be placing it on top of the screen. Want to help our suction cup basically grasp onto the screen better and to avoid any kind of injury. Now, here we have the replacement battery for the 5G as well. So let's go take a look at the tools that we'll be using. First, we have the little suction cup. This will help us open the device. And we have a plastic spudger, a little rag, just to clean your screen. Then we have a set of screwdrivers, pentalobe screwdriver, and then we have the Phillips, which are basically the main ones that we will be using. We have alcohol wipes. We also have the little eject pin for the SIM card, which is something that we won't be using this repair. We have a wedger, some tweezers, and a guitar pick. Now, first thing that we're going to do is we will install this onto the screen. We want to make sure that before we use our suction cup, we have good grasp on it. And obviously, like I mentioned earlier, we don't want to cut ourselves. I just removed the paper backing, and then we're going to go ahead and align this as best as possible. Then when using our spudger, we're going to basically guide it along the top of our display to ensure that we have a bubble-free install. Okay, like that. Now, next step will be to remove both of the pentalobe screws located on the bottom of the device. Using the pentalobe screwdriver, we'll go ahead and remove both of them. Now, I like using my finger here as leverage. One, I don't like scratching the device. And two, makes it easier for me to find the screw itself. So now, every time that we remove a screw, we will be placing them inside of the box. Like I said, we're going to be grouping these. So let me open the box and place them inside. Now we have the lid to use as well. So when we do the screen replacement on this, I'm going to be using the lid to keep all the screws separated from the ones from the inside of the device. Okay, so there you go. We remove both of the screws from the bottom. Now we're going to go ahead and install our suction cup near the home button, basically on top of it, but we're going to shift it a little bit to the left. What we're trying to do is we're going to try to make it and align it as best as possible with your headphone jack over here. And we're using our little wedge tool. We're going to go ahead and place it right on top of the frame where the screen ends. And we're just going to hold it there. We're going to go ahead and start lifting on this suction cup to create this gap. And basically the reason to having the wedge there is looking for that timing in order to insert it. And so we could stop using the suction cup. Now, we don't want, when we're installing this, we don't want to have the edges of the suction cup over the sticker, like falling off of the sticker, because then basically we're, killing the purpose of using the sticker for just the suction cup. Now, let's go ahead and pull on this, and there we go. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now we could let go of the suction cup and then pry on this side of the screen. Hold it with your thumb, hold that gap open. We're going to go ahead and move on to the opposite side and do the same thing. There we go. Once we actually open the device, we're going to go ahead and release the clips on the side. We're going to go ahead and lift up the screen at a 90-degree angle. Now, this will allow us to gain access to this device. Now, first thing that we're going to do on here is remove the screws on this EMI shield. You see we have 3 of them. Now, the 2 on the bottom are exactly the same size, while the one on top is actually, if I'm not mistaken, a tad bit longer, but it's non-magnetic, which is the main issue here. So we want to ensure that these two go back into each corresponding location, and the one on top definitely goes back where it belongs. Now we're going to go ahead and remove both of the screws on the bottom, again creating small groups inside of our box. Now the groups are going to consist of these 3 screws that we're removing here and the EMI shield. So the way that I tend to do things with this is I will grab this shield, and I'm going to show you an example just with one single screw and the shield itself. But okay, before you remove the shield, guys, it's actually held on with 2 hooks, but the flexes itself are going to push on the shield itself. As you can see, I'm trying to lift it up here, but it's not me lifting up the shield, it's actually the flex is pushing up on it. So you're going to basically guide it up until it stops, and then you're done with the screwdriver. You're going to go ahead and pick up that screw, basically kind of just twist it out of there. I'm going to place it on my table here. Now the correct way to actually remove the shield is basically push it towards the battery to release the hooks. It has 3 hooks on there. See if I can show you guys, but it has 3 little hooks right there, if you can see them, and they actually hook onto the shield that you see right there. Now the way that I group things is basically I will place this inside of my map like so, and then I will place the screws near the location where they belong in. So for example, this one goes there, I will place it there, then I have the other one that goes here, I will place it right next to there, and finally the last one here. So that's exactly how I create my groups, and that's exactly how I'm going to go ahead and do so inside of my box. Now finally, I'm going to move on to disconnecting the flexes. I have 3 flexes, guys: front facing camera, digitizer, and your LCD. So the first one here that we're going to disconnect is this one right there on the right side. This one is your front facing camera. So basically just go ahead and insert the corner of the flat side of your spudger underneath the flex and give it a light twist to disconnect it like so. Make sure that you don't dig in there. If you were to dig in here, you could potentially damage the sockets. So now I'm going to move on to this one, and I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm coming from the right of the flex, and again light twists. Now as you can see, this flex actually came loose by itself. If in your case that didn't happen, then you will come from the left side and give it a light twist as well to disconnect it. Now let me go ahead and set this display aside, and as you can see, we have successfully disassembled our device. We have just removed the screen from it. This will allow us to work on either the screen or the battery, guys. Alright guys, so now that we have disassembled the device and we have the screen separated, we're going to go ahead and work on our battery. So the first thing that we're going to do is place our display aside. We're not going to be working on this, so I'm just going to go ahead and place it on or in the box, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to the battery here. Now the battery, as you can see, is a numerous amount of screws, but you don't have to remove all of them. You actually have one plate, which is not a full plate here. We have actually 2 plates right there. This one here, and then that one on the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove these 2 screws. So go ahead and remove them, place them in your box. Again, group them together. So we have this one and this one. So we have 2 screws. Now, using the flat side of my spudger, I'm going to go ahead and lift up the shield. Sometimes it is adhered to the flex. And again, I'm going to remind you guys exactly how I create my groups. So I will put my shield there along with the screws. So that's exactly a group for me inside of my box. You have the screw that goes on top and the one that goes on the bottom right next to its corresponding location. And like that, I will remind myself where everything belongs. Now let's go ahead and place this inside of our box so we can move on to removing the battery itself. Okay, so next step in the battery removal process is disconnecting the flex. Now you're gonna actually see right here beside the flex. Actually, let me move this flex out of the way so you can see it better. You don't have to do that in uRepair, but right here where the flex actually meets the backing plate for it, you're gonna see a gap right underneath it. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna insert the tip of your spudger and you're gonna gently pry it up. And you're gonna see your whole flex actually come loose. You're gonna grab it, pick it up out of the actual gap that it sits in, and we're going to fold this towards the inside just to keep it out of the way so you don't damage it. Next step is actually to break the bond inside of the battery, underneath the battery. I mean, you have actually adhesive lying underneath the battery. It's not very strong, but still, that's the next step. So what I like using for this, just to ensure that I do it in one go, is using the handle of my tweezers. Now the handle of my tweezers, as you can see, has a round edge, and basically it's going to ensure that I don't puncture this battery. If you were to use this, basically the first thing you do is puncture, so just make sure you use the handle. Now for this repair, we're going to go ahead and insert the tweezers, or the handle of it pretty much, into this little gap that you see right here. Once you do that, you're going to start prying the battery up. It's going to be an easy process. You're going to hear the actual adhesive breaking, but that's exactly our goal here. Once you actually have created a gap, go ahead and hold the battery with your finger and lift it out of the device now, like that. Okay, so in some cases your adhesive will also remain inside of the device. Pretty much half of the time this will happen. So we're going to go ahead and reuse this adhesive, as this will hold the battery down perfectly. Now, the next step in this is to grab our new battery. Let's get it out of the box. Okay, we have our new battery here, but as you can see, there's actually a slight difference in the flex itself. It's not bent to basically just plug and play. We're going to create that bend for it. So let's get it out of this little plastic sleeve that it comes in. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and create that little bend for the battery. To do so, I'm going to go ahead and unfold this flex and make it straight, sticking out of the battery itself. Then I'm going to go ahead and rotate the device, and the first thing I'm doing is plugging it in. So looking for the socket, you're going to place your finger on top of it, and we're feeling for this to drop in place. Don't press it down until you feel it. There we go. You're going to hear or feel the click. Alright, now once we actually have that in place, we're going to go ahead and lower the battery into the position that it belongs in. And with the battery itself, I'm going to go ahead and push on the flex to create that little bend. Make sure that you're holding the connection down to ensure that it doesn't come loose. And once you're pushing on it and see that it's flush with the motherboard, you're going to go ahead and lower it into position and just press on it to ensure that the adhesive underneath is basically grasping onto the battery. As you can see, I still can't lift it up, so that's good. And we're going to go ahead and reinstall that little shield. Now for the shield, again, the way that it goes is the little circular part to the top on here, and then the little is going to basically sit like an L. If you look at it from the front, it's going to be an L. So let's go ahead and place it where it belongs, just like that. Grab the screws. The way that we arrange them inside of the box to ensure that they're going to go where they belong. Okay, go ahead and align it again. You know, our screwdrivers are magnetic, so most likely we'll pick up your shield. Let's go ahead and install the second screw. Alright. Now when you're tightening any of the screws, when you actually see that your screwdriver stops turning, then that's it, you're done. Alright, now both screws. There we go. Alright guys, so basically right now we have finished the battery replacement on an iPhone 5G. Alright.
Well, your repair is almost done. All you need to do now is reassemble your phone. So, did you think the repair was too easy for you? Maybe you have a natural talent for that. How about making some money with this? Yes, you can do just like me and join the iExperts, a community of repair specialists. Want to know how? Visit www.becomeaniexpert.com and be welcome to your new future. Now, let's see the last part of this video.
Alright guys, so basically now that we have done the repairs that we were looking to do inside of this device, we're ready to reassemble it. So the step that we're going to do next is pretty much just pick up your screen, place it at a 90-degree angle, and then we're going to go ahead and gently bend the flexes so we could have each one of them individually. And then we're going to go ahead and align the first one, which will be your digitizer, as best as possible. Basically, with your finger, you're going to move it side to side until you feel it drop into the position that you're looking for, and then gently press it down until you see that it stays in place. Sometimes you will feel a click or hear it. Now, once you actually plug in the first one, you're going to move on to the second one, which is your LCD. Before you do so, always make sure that the first one, which is your digitizer, is plugged in properly. On the 5Gs, they tend to actually easily get disconnected, so make sure that they're properly connected. Keep your screen always at a 90-degree angle so that doesn't actually get disconnected. Now again, with the next one, you're just going to lower it. Try to align it as best as possible, but usually they're going to be pretty much aligned since you plugged in the digitizer already. Press it in, feel for that click. You don't want to be pressing on them too often. Basically, just press it once and make sure that it's properly done. That's the reason we're looking for that socket before we press. You could damage your sockets or the flexes, so that's something that we're going to try to avoid at all costs. Now, next one is your front-facing camera. This one is a little bit more difficult since it's not rigid like the other ones, but with my thumb, I'm going to go ahead and guide it on top of the socket pretty much. And again, I'm looking for the same thing. I'm basically just looking for that socket. As you can see, mine actually went in pretty easy, but then I'm going to go ahead and gently press it, looking for that click that you just heard there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and rotate my device. And next, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the shield here. Now, to reinstall the shield is actually a bit tricky. Remember that it has 3 little hooks on there, so we're going to make sure that that's hooked on, placing it in an angle like this, and ensuring that they're all hooked on at the same time. Okay, once you actually hook them on, all your screw holes should be aligned. So I'm going to move over here and hold the plate with my finger as I reinstall the screws. Now, I tend to pinch the screws in between my fingers in order to align them onto the screwdriver, since I'm basically using up both of my hands. And then install one of the screws so I could let go of the plate and make it easier for myself. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the other screw. Now guys, remember that the last screw, which is the one on the top right, is non-magnetic. So we're going to go ahead and use our tweezers to pick this one up. And I'm going to just drop it in position, and using my screwdriver, I'm going to go ahead and tighten it. Remember, when you're tightening any of the screws, you don't want to over tighten it, so when your screwdriver stops turning, then basically you're done. Now, next step is to lower your display into position. We have a few clips here, as you can see them from there. We have 3, 1, 2, and 3. These are very fragile. You do not want to place your screen here and just press down, as you could damage them. We're going to go ahead and insert the screen at an angle like so to ensure that they sit properly where they belong. Now, once you actually do that, hold your device on top, rotate the device with your thumb. You're going to keep the tension on the top of the device, and with your opposite thumb, you're going to go ahead and press the clips in on the sides like so. Now, this part is not going to be a very difficult job. If you find yourself basically trying to force this screen in position and you're doing something wrong and you want to remove the screen, not disconnect it, but basically just remove it from the frame and then lower it once again to ensure that everything is properly aligned. Now, the next step is to reinstall the 2 pentalobe screws. We're just going to go ahead and drop them in position, both of them. And then with my finger, I'm going to cover them halfway. And with the screwdriver, I'm going to go ahead and push my finger out of the way to ensure that I'm not scratching the device or pulling them out of position with the magnetism from the screwdriver. Now, don't over tighten these. These are crucial to gaining access to your device. Okay, so basically once you actually finish this repair, you're going to go ahead and turn on your device, ensuring that everything is done properly. You're going to look for the function on your digitizer. You're going to make sure that it follows your finger every step of the way. So what you're going to do is hold on one of the applications, wait until it gets jiggly, and then basically just move it across your whole screen to ensure that everything is working properly. If it doesn't by any chance, just make sure, double check that it wasn't just you dropping the application by mistake. But if it does keep on happening, open your device, check your connections. Like I mentioned before, the digitizer cable tends to come loose quite often. So, all right, so basically guys, make sure that everything is plugged in properly. Make sure that you've installed all the screws in the corresponding location. And if you do everything properly, then you successfully will repair your iPhone 5G. Well, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you.